Hello, hello. I saw Unfriended Dark Web recently, and I have a few thoughts on it. Now, of course, Unfriended Dark Web is the sequel to Unfriended. It came out a couple years ago, and that's a film I actually really liked. I thought it was pretty innovative in its storytelling, and I thought it wrings some scares out of some pretty pretty stupid plot, to be honest. So I was kind of curious about this movie. I wouldn't say excited about it because a plot line or like a premise like that, I just can't imagine sustaining itself for more than one movie. And so, I was curious to see what they could do. The thing that impressed me the most about the first film was its ability to tell the story through the computer without just telling the audience what's going on. Little things like our character starting to type something and then changing their mind, backing up, and typing something else, changing their mind, like stuff we do in real life where we're trying to figure out how to word something. And you really could get into the character's head through the way they did stuff like that. I thought that was really clever. This sequel doesn't commit as hard to that kind of storytelling, at least in terms of character development. In terms of plotting, it does kind of. You get all your information based on what people are Google searching, looking up on YouTube, stuff like that. But it's not as, I don't know, it's not as innovative, I don't think, than the first one was. One thing this one had that I prefer over the first one are the characters. They're a little bit more believable, a little bit less obnoxious than the ones in the first one. I've seen the first one time, and I can barely remember it, except for the memorable, annoying characters and like people saying things you'd never say and acting the way people never act in that sort of situation. Now, in this one, they were a little bit more believable, a little bit less irritating, and it made you care just a little bit more, whether they died or lived. Only a little bit, though. I'm not gonna give it too much credit. Now, something that I thought worked as both a positive and a negative to this film is that it's less supernatural than the first one. The first one, the whole gimmick was there's a entity or spirit haunting these people through their computers, their Skype conversation, and this one there's none of that on paper. It's supposed to be like hackers screwing with people in the real world. And as a positive, I think it grounded it a little bit more in reality and made it a little bit scarier because you can kind of imagine this stuff happening to an extent. Some of the stuff, I don't know, but yeah, in this one, I can totally see the basic outline of this plot happening in real life, and that's kind of scary. But as a negative, I think when they try to do crazy things with the hacking and the computers, a lot of questions start to come up. You start to question like that can't happen because this is grounded more in reality. We know what you can do with computers and what you can't do with computers. So in the first one, when crazy stuff was happening, people's profiles and getting mixed up and their messages being sent that they didn't send, stuff like that, you were like, yeah, but what are the rules? The rules are vague because there's like a paranormal entity possessing these computers, so who am I to question what can happen, what can't happen? But in this one, it's literally people screwing with other people's computers. And I'm no hacker by any means, but there's a lot of stuff in this movie that, if it was paranormal, I would give it a pass. But since it's real life, supposedly, I don't know. I didn't buy a lot of this stuff. It made for some plot holes, in my opinion. But enough comparing it to the first one. How does it stand in its own right as its own film? How is it? I liked it. Didn't love it. Not even close to loving it, but it was an enjoyable 90 minutes or whatever it was. I thought the plotting was actually pretty dense for a cheap horror movie. There's a lot of wheels turning, and I thought it was a pretty satisfying ride. I will say at the end of the film, there's kind of like a false conclusion, like 10 minutes before the end, that I actually really liked. I thought all the pieces fit perfectly, and I was like, wow, that's dark, but it's dark web. It sounds like it's going to be dark, so I was like, yeah, this is nice. This is a pleasant surprise. And then it keeps going for 10 more minutes. And then the actual ending, the last 10 seconds, literally the last 10 seconds where they reveal what was actually happening, I was just like, okay. It was just kind of, it just was kind of dumb all of a sudden. Just too silly for a film that tried to seem to root itself in reality and make it feel like it could actually happen. At the end, it kind of threw out the plausible ending that I thought it was going to go with, and I was just, whatever. But, the movie leading up to that was a fun, interesting ride, at least, so can't be too mad at it, but definitely wish it would have gone a different direction. As I already said, it does largely commit to the story told through a computer screen storytelling device. There was a couple of times where it phased out. Like our character would be doing some research on his own computer, and the Skype conversation would be continuing in the back, and then the conversation would just kind of fade out. It would get really soft, so we could hear our guy talking and figuring it out. Which I get it. Like you don't want the constant chatter of the Skype chat going on in the background, but then why not have the character just mute the conversation? But whatever, little things like that. It didn't take me out of the what they were going for too much. But despite taking place inside a computer, essentially, it still had a lot of the horror tropes that plague all horror movies, including the dumb protagonists. They just do things that, if you were in the same situation or the average person was in that situation, they would make intelligent, informed decisions and not get themselves or their friends into worse trouble. But that doesn't happen in this movie. Generally, things go from bad to worse because our characters make bad decisions, essentially. The whole plot is jump-started by a bad decision. So you might catch yourself yelling at the screen a couple times, hopefully internally, about, what? Why'd you do that? Don't do that. Don't go there. Stuff like that. But, yeah. All in all, it's not too much to complain about with Unfriended 2. Like, what do you expect? So yeah, those are my thoughts on Unfriended Dark Web. Didn't go in with super high expectations and came out the other side pretty satisfied, entertained. No more or less than I expected to be. So not a terrible movie-going experience. I'd give it like a 70. Average. The bare minimum of average, but it's a fun time. It's not too bad. So, until next time, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.